Well, I went to a place called Chouinard Art Institute, Chouinard. It is now called Cal Arts, which is short for Chouinard. And when I found myself in art school, my father sent me after I was summarily thrown out of high school. He put me in art school, and I figured because I was in an art school that I necessarily was an artist. And until this wonderful old man got up, his name was a wonderful name. He's a great art teacher. His name was Francois Murphy, which is kind of like on a roller coaster. You know, you go up on the Francois and then drop off into the Murphy. He was a wonderful old gent, and then he got up there and he said to all of us, we were ready to go, to draw. And he said, every one of you birds has 100,000 bad drawings in you. The sooner you get rid of them, the better it'll be for everybody. And a lot of the fellows decided that they didn't want to go through that kind of nonsense. But I was already on my second 100,000, so I decided to stick around. And then when I finished at art school, and it didn't happen that fast, it took 3 years to do it, I came out hoping that I could get a job as a janitor because I had janited my way through art school to enhance one of the least of the scholarships. So this was the middle of the Depression, 1931, and I hoped that I could get a job, as I said, janiting or working in a service station or something like that. It never occurred to me that I get a job drawing. What I hope for, of course, is what every art student hopes for, and if he doesn't dream this way, when he's in art school, he shouldn't be in art school. And that was that you hope that you would, when you finish school, go to Paris and get yourself a colorful little attic looking out over the rooftops of Paris, and there you would paint with beautiful girls as your models and die at a picturesque old age of, say, 37. Dying of consumption and sort of a male Camille, Well, unfortunately, when I got out of school, I found out it cost money to die poor. You had to get there, right? Well, I couldn't get there, and so then, to my astonishment, a man I'd gone to art school with, who had started work with a offshoot of the Disney Studios, run by a man by the remarkable name of Ub Iwerks. And if you want to know what animation is all about, spell Iwerks backwards. I'll give you a second to think about it. It's screwy, and in Dutch, of course. And so in that day in 1931, when I was not yet 19, I was offered a job and to be paid money to draw. The most incredible thing that ever happened to anybody in the history of my life. So that was 60 some odd years ago, and very odd, as a matter of fact. And to this day, somebody has always paid me enough to be comfortable, not rich, but to be comfortable drawing, being paid to draw, the supreme miracle of all times. This is a very concise response to when people ask me what happened after you came out of art school. But that's what happened to me. So I went shying off in my own direction, which had to do really with what we call character animation. Now, to define character animation, you have to go to the Three Little Pigs, which is the first cartoon that was made, and it was made in 1933, in which three characters that looked alike acted differently. And you could define them by the way they move rather than by what they look like. All you have to do is look at most of Saturday morning television, and you can see what I'm talking about. Evil people are big and ugly, and good. If you're small and cute and dear, why, you're good. And so that was true at that time, and then the Three Little Pigs came along, and all of a sudden we realized that we had in our hands a method of communication which could establish character. So, if you went back to the beginning of drawing, right, 35,000 to 40,000 years before Christ, no, before now, pardon me, 35 to 45,000 years when we discovered the first cave paintings, a man or a girl or somebody would have had to live 35 or 45,000 years to cover the history of drawing. Well, in animation, the first animation that was done in 1914, and it's still going today. So my life encompasses the entire history of animation. In other words, and technically, I am a 35,000-year-old man in terms of animation, as are the few of us that are still left. And that's a kind of an astonishing thing. It's like the only thing I can think is comparable to it is going back perhaps 100 years to the beginning of American jazz, or Lower Basin Street, and the very early jazz, which covers the lifetime. There's still people alive that gained in that. Well, America doesn't have so many art forms that I think they can ignore some. And if animation is an art form, then it's an indigenous art form that is recent, and that the protagonists that began it many of them are still around.